Let's make some noise. Come on.
It's in fact indeedy Nick Foles. Let's make some noise. Welcome back, everybody, to the final word here on the It's a Rap Sports Network. I should say the final word may be here on the It's a Rap Sports Network on this lovely Tuesday night. Got a Phillies win, man. 6-3. Bats came alive once again. Phillies did commit 2 errors. Jesus Luzardo's story of the night. Big bounce back effort by him as he's been struggling. And the Phillies do what they got to do against the Chicago White Sox, man. And we're getting close to that time. Trade deadline is quickly approaching. Sir Anthony Dominguez, former Philly, now former Oriole, had the dubious honor of being traded to a team, the Blue Jays. So the Orioles and Blue Jays were playing a doubleheader. And he got traded from the Orioles to the Blue Jays in game. So he switched locker rooms for the second game of the doubleheader. Reminiscent of the Joel Youngblood trade. You guys remember that one back in the day when Youngblood was traded from, I believe it was the Cubs to the Expos? It's a little different because they weren't playing a doubleheader. The Cubs were playing a home game, and he was traded during the day to the Expos in game of that game, and he got on a plane and flew to Philadelphia and appeared in that game that night for the Expos. Not, of course, not quite the same, but reminiscent of that. So trade deadline time, and of course, the question on a lot of people's minds in this area is, what are the Phillies going to do? And we'll definitely cut into that. We're going to cut into this win some. We're going to talk a little Eagles training camp. As I'm sorry, guys. I maybe it's just the fact that I'm jaded about the Eagles and I'm out about the Eagles. And this is kind of, and I don't agree with this, but I just always have had a hard time talking about training camp. There's no way to gauge it to me. There's just no way to sit here and say, I can look at what's happening at practice in the summertime with no pads on and say, yes, this is a clear indication of what this team is going to be like come season. But we'll cut up some training camp stuff as the hype train continues. Eagles Super Bowl defense, I guess, will officially begin on Thursday night when the Hall of Fame game kicks off. That's what you want to kind of gauge that. So we'll get into that. Again, we're about a week away from the first preseason game, which, again, I have a hard time using that as any sort of indicator. But we'll definitely talk some Eagles training camp stuff. We've got our Day in Philadelphia sports history. We're also going to do our card review. And, yes, just like I said the other night, the Of the Night segment had fallen into a stale sort of end of the road type of thing lately, but we're going to re-energize the end of the night because we're going to debut the Flyers Player Spotlight Card segment for the 25-26 season tonight. So we're going to start cutting up Flyers. Starting tonight, we're going to look back at some of the players that made the Flyers in 24-25 what they were, as we are about 2.5 months away from the start of the hockey season. You wouldn't know it to be outside. It's like 100 degrees today, but we were about 2.5 months away from hockey. So all those great and wonderful things and more here on the program tonight. So hope you guys, and welcome everybody. I didn't have a show last night, but it wasn't like I wasn't there. I was here. I was doing post-game duties. So here we are, show number 2 of the season, of the week. So definitely happy about that. Mickey Delaney checks in. Hey, Matty B, let's go. Hey, let's go. Where we going? Joe Hale, what's up? Ricky is watching. Michael Papernick says, good win. Joe Hale says, great win. And Joe's asking me if I can open the phone lines if more people call in. I'm going to open the phone lines regardless. I think we're going to open the phone lines tonight. We are going to talk. I want to hear from you guys, regardless if it's just Joe Hale, Michael Papernick, Ricky Deal, and Mickey Delaney. That's all I need. That's a party, man. That's a party. I don't need 1,000 people. I would appreciate 1,000 people, but I don't need them. So we are going to open up the phone lines. And of course, the phone lines, this show, everything on this network is brought to you by the fine folks of the It's a Rap Sports Network, purveyors of such programming as, let me do this one. Yeah, the Wraparound with Pat Bernard every 10:30 every Friday at 10:30 p.m. Pat will, I don't think, be on the show. Pat's dealing with some technical problems with his computers. He's having a hard time upgrading into the 21st century. So I don't know if Pat's going to be able to go Friday, but we already have a fix in. Mike Laro will step in for Pat this Friday if he has to. We're on a day-by-day situation with Pat and his computers as he's looking into why he's talking when he gets on the internet. It's like he's broadcasting from a cave in central Afghanistan. So we're getting into the bottom of that. In the meantime, we will be here to cover down on Pat until he is ready to return. So either Pat or Mike Laro will be with you on this Friday at 10:30. But the wraparound will go. Oh, yes, it will go. So there you have it. All right, let's get it going. Let's strap in, strap on, strap up. Keep your head, hands, and feet inside the car at all times. And here, let's roll with our day in Philadelphia sports history. And on this day back in 2002, Scott Rowland. Burns my ass. One, that he got in the Hall of Fame, and two, the Phillies recognize him. But anyway, Scott Rowland, an all-star face of the Phillies, and allegedly a team cancer, according to an anonymous teammate, forced himself out of Philadelphia on this day back in 2002. He was traded to the St. Louis Cardinals, ending a tumultuous relationship with ownership spurred by Rowland's public scrutiny of the team's commitment to winning. The Phillies received Matt Timlin, reliever. Remember that guy? He bolted for free agency at that season when 2002 season ended. Former no-hit hurling lefty Bud Smith, who would soon become a minor league mainstay in Philadelphia. And infielder Placido Polanco, who would be traded nearly 3 years later for Jurgith Rebrina, who later served time in a Venezuelan prison. At the surface, it was an uneven trade, but with the franchise cornerstones of Chase Utley, Ryan Howard, and Cole Hamels waiting in the wings, the cancer had been cut, and good things were soon to come. And, of course, Polanco would return. And I think overall, Polanco had a generally positive career with the Phillies. So I guess Mike Timlin and Polanco were probably the best things that came from that trade. So it wasn't a completely a bust of a trade. Obviously, Scott Rowland went on to have a Hall of Fame career and all that. But it was a fun, it was an interesting time in Philadelphia then. Scott Rowland was brought here at the late 90s, mid-late 90s, and things were not necessarily looking up for the Phillies at that time. And yeah, he labored through some years here and really did not like the fact that the team wasn't all in on trying to win. And of course, we've talked about this, and the Phillies are actually going to honor the man this weekend who would not go all in on these trades at that time. Ed Wade was holding on to those chips. All you buffoons out there who believe prospects are just prospects, they're nothing more than that, and they should be treated accordingly, should take a lesson from Ed Wade and should take a lesson for what he did not do back in 2002. Even though he had a face of the franchise type player, Scott Rowland, and apparently was pissing him off by not going all in. And Rowland was very public with that criticism. But during that time, it was a hot topic in this town. There was a fan base divided on it. A lot of people came out on the side of some of you today who were saying, get rid of the prospects, bring in some players. Let's win now with one player leading the way. Ed Wade said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to piss off Scott Rowland. I don't care. And what happened? Well, 2007 to 2011, arguably the most successful era in Philadelphia Philly history, came from that. And yes, Scott Rowland was part of that. He was a huge part of that. We cut the cancer away. We got rid of him. And we opened the door for players like Utley, Rollins, and Hamels to come in and take their place, his place. So pretty appropriate that today on Scott Rowland Day, Scott Rowland Trade Day, that one of our first topics is going to be that trade deadline, because I feel we are back in that situation again. We are back into a moment in time in Phillies history where people out there, a fan base divided, is like, the hell with the prospects, the hell with the Crawfords, the Painters, the Millers, I guess the Raconis Juniors, the Cabreras, the Taits, the Saltabons, the Anthonys. I guess I can go on and on and on. To hell with them guys. We are at a point in our franchise that we can win now. And much like back in 2002, and I remember those days, it was a transitional time. We weren't the doormats of the National League East or the National League at that time. There was competitive baseball here in Philadelphia, like 2001, 2002, like in the early 2000s, we were playing meaningful September baseball, and people were getting impatient. And they said the same thing then they're saying now. If we're really committed to winning, then why aren't we pulling off the big trades? Ed Wade at that time said, I'm not doing it because I either A, don't want to get rid of the prospects that we have at that time, and thank God he didn't, or B, I don't feel as if the trade market is fair in return value for players that I might be sending them, or C, I don't think we're as close as people think we are. And I think there's a lot of similarities with that than there is today. Okay. Now, again, I'm going to probably give Dave Dombrowski a lot more credit than I should. It might not be coming from Dombrowski because he's got a pedigree of blowing up farm systems in pursuits of championships. This could be John Middleton's hand saying, whoa, Nelly, before you deal away our future, I want to talk to you. So I'm not going to give Dombrowski Ed Wade credit. Not going to do that because I don't feel like, I honestly think if it was up to him, I'd be playing in Lehigh Valley right now. Okay. I'd be the new starting first baseman for the Iron Pigs at 52 years old because everybody else would have been traded. So I think this situation, it's pretty ironic that today, it being Scott Rowland Day, that we are once again embattled in the same conversation with this team when it comes to let's go all in and win a championship. And quite a lot like what Ed Wade did back in 2002, you know, I think a portion of this fan base is not taking the temperature in the room. So happy Scott Rowland Day to all of you. And it's a perfect segue into our first topic of the night, which of course is the trade deadline looming. And we're going to get into it here in a second. Back to what I was saying yesterday, the Cleveland Indians got closer. So again, for all those who are out there holding on to the Emmanuel Clase, Stephen Kwan, fantasy land trade, that was, I don't know, who the hell started that trade? Was that you, Joe Hale, that started that rumor? Did you start that thing rolling around the country, man? I mean, first of all, from the very outset of that rumor, everyone was just, I guess, assuming that the Indians would, and of course, Joe, I applaud you for referring to them by their God-given name, the Indians. But I guess everybody assumed that the Indians would be out of this thing. I mean, they're like 3 games out of the wild card. So they were never that far out of it to begin with. But yet everybody assumed that they were sellers. And I didn't think that was that cut and dry, not in June. And now, of course, with the Emmanuel Clase drama, suspended for betting, thank God we didn't make that trade. That's all we would need, man. Andrew Painter on his way to Cleveland for Emmanuel Clase, and now he's suspended. Can sit alongside Jose Alvarado and enjoy the rest of the season from the sideline. So thank God that trade didn't happen. And maybe the Indians didn't have foresight to what was happening, because I'm sure if they did, they would have probably made that deal with the Phillies. But thank God it didn't happen, as Emmanuel Clase is sitting on the damn bench. I'll boo Roland on Friday. Yeah, I know. Listen, and I know the disdain for Scott Rowland, but he was a hell of a piece, man. I mean, he had the next Mike Schmidt written all over him. I understand where it was coming from. I understand his frustrations. I get it. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and be hypocritical to him. I mean, he wants to win, and he was stuck here in an organization that probably made him some promises when they drafted him and said, listen, we're going to build a team around you. And he wasn't seeing that. And I don't think he was listening to just be patient. Chase Utley and Jimmy Rollins are coming, or Chase Utley and Cole Hamels are coming. And he's like, who the hell are they? I want bona fide MLB talent here. So I can understand the frustrations. I can. Now, he became public enemy number 1. I get all that. I still don't think he had a Hall of Fame career, regardless of how he had a very good career out in St. Louis, but I don't think it was Hall of Fame level, and I sure as hell don't think the Phillies should have honored him in their Wall of Fame. I mean, what are we doing here, man? I mean, it's just because his name was tied to the organization. I mean, did they retire his number? They didn't retire the number, did they? I don't remember seeing that. Hopefully they didn't. But I don't remember. Did they retire it? Somebody help me out there. Did they retire Scott Rowland's number? 17, right? Who's rocking 17 these days? But anyway, yeah, I agree. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I hate Scott Rowland. I despise J.D. Drew more than I do Scott Rowland because he didn't want to play here at all. But all the honors and accolades that they're giving him, it's a little weird because of what he did, of what he pulled. The Eagles lineup out. Yeah, should be. Well, not really. Juan Soto's injured. It's all set up for the Phillies. What, to acquire Juan Soto? We're going to trade for Juan Soto because he's hurt. I know what you mean, Barbara. The Mets were cooled off last night in a hell of a game. For those of you who stayed up last night to watch that Mets game, it's a pretty good game out in San Diego. But they finally lost, like breaking the 7-game losing streak. So we'll see. I mean, we got a lot of baseball left, a lot of good, meaningful baseball. And we're going to break some things down with the Phillies as we get into the show. The Phillies still are in jeopardy of finishing the month of July below 500 for the month. They're 11-11 right now with 1 game left. So they could fall under 500 for the month of July if they don't win tomorrow. By the way, I got the final tomorrow. So we're gonna cut some things up. And of course, the other thing, barring the month of May, I've said this, and I'm going to keep saying it until it's no longer rings true. The Phillies were 19-9 in May. Other than that, they have been at 500 or slightly better. And I mean like 2 games better for every month of the season up to this point. And I never thought we could ride May, the success of May, we could ride that into August. But they're doing it. And they're doing it well. So take all that for what it's worth, too. The whole 08 team will be in Philly on Friday. I saw the list came out. Like 55 of them are coming in. I didn't see the whole team on there. I didn't see Ryan Howard's name mentioned. I know Jimmy Rollins will be there. He's getting inducted. Chase Utley was going to be there. I think Carlos Ruiz will be there. Jamie Moyer is going to be there. I didn't see Pat Burrell. I didn't see Jason Worth. I didn't see any of their names on the list. Now, maybe there's a separate list that they're not releasing to the public, but the list I saw that got released, I didn't see the entire 08 roster there. I didn't even see Charlie Manuel's name there. So I don't know if that's true, but I know you're going to be part of the festivities this weekend, Joe, and I'm very jealous for you because I wish I could be there. Sir Anthony Dominguez traded to Baltimore by Toronto after game 1 of a doubleheader between Baltimore and Toronto, pitching for both teams today. Yeah, and again, I kind of went into a little bit of the history books there, Steve, earlier tonight when I mentioned that. It reminds me of the Youngblood trade back in the 80s when Youngblood, who started the day playing for the Cubs, got traded at like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Central Time in Chicago, hopped on a flight bound for Philadelphia to join his new team, the Montreal Expos, and appeared in that game in like the 7th inning as a pinch hitter for the Expos. So it's almost reminiscent of that. Now, granted, walking across the hallway from one locker room to the next isn't quite that, but still, I mean, obviously you didn't start your day. Now, I'm sure Sir Anthony thought or had some inkling that his time was running out in Baltimore, but to think he was going to end up and he was going to start his day off in Baltimore as an Oriole and end it as a Blue Jay, but still in the same city, same hotel. Did they keep him in the same hotel? Just move him to a different floor? That's what I want to know. I want to know the living conditions. Does Sir Anthony Dominguez stay in the same hotel that he checked into? Obviously not the same room. The Orioles are going to kick his ass out, but does he stay in the same hotel, but on a different floor as they sort out his living conditions in Toronto? But he gets traded from the Orioles to the Blue Jays in between game 1 and game 2 of a doubleheader. That's the cool things about baseball, man. Not quite as cool as Youngblood, but definitely up there. Honestly, there's not a lot of useful players to trade for this year. And okay, Barbara, let's get back to my point about the trade deadline. We are 2 days away. We're less than 2 days away. It's almost the 30th, right? And much like what Ed Wade did back in 2002, by not going all in, and he did it more than just in 2002. 2003 was like that, I believe. there was this sense of urgency that existed in Philadelphia back at the turn of the 21st century. And I don't know where the sense of urgency came from. The team was dreadful in the mid-90s, into the late 90s, the Terry Francona years. And then all of a sudden we come out into the Larry Bowa years and things start to turn around. Some things start to click into place. Scott Rowland's here. And all of a sudden, this sense of urgency appeared on the horizon from the fan base that we got to win now. And I get why. I mean, I get overarching why. We won World Series championship at that point through, God knows, 130 years, whatever it was, 120 years. But the indications of them being a World Series legitimate contender were not really present then. But the fans wanted to go all in on players like, oh man, what was Scott Kazmir. Scott Kazmir was the hottest name back then in the pitching world that the Phillies should have made a trade for. He ended up going to the Mets. The Mets pulled that deal off and it didn't work out, but let's trade them all. And there wasn't really sexy names out there in this, and you used the word useful. I use the word sexy, Barbara, because this is what I envision a World Series contender to do during the trade deadline. To go out and acquire a Manny Ramirez, to go out and acquire a Juan Soto, to go out and acquire a Shohei Ohtani, a player that is a needle mover, that is a game changer, that is a DNA changer for a ball club, to add on to what they already have. Truly the one player that's missing, or the one thing that's missing to push the said team over the top. And as we are sitting here less than 48 hours away from the trade deadline, are the Phillies one player away from a World Series championship? Are the Phillies in a position to go out and acquire, and as Barbara states, useful players, not sexy like I want, but useful players? And I guess the word useful is defined as the following: Cedric Mullins, Luis Robert, I guess Suarez is one that could be useful, but he's a power bat. I don't need another home run or bust guy. He does strike out a lot. I don't need another one of them. Buxton from the Twins, who emphatically said that the All-Star game, I'm not going anywhere because I got a no trade clause. Stephen Kwan, I guess we can still talk his name. But is that the one player? Is that the needle mover? Is that the guy? Are those the guys? Or are we just wanting to make a trade just to make a trade? Thinking that we are a useful player away, and I'll use Barbara's words, from a World Series championship. I don't think we are. I think we're multiple useful players away. And I don't feel personally, and this might come to as a shock to some people, and some people it might not, but I don't feel personally that mortgaging the future, and the owner's got my back on this one, because he doesn't want to go back into those dark days of 2013 through 2017, and neither do I. But I don't think it's worth the squeeze. The juice is not there for me this year. We don't have to make a trade just because it's the trade deadline. We don't have to mortgage away this future of this team because we think somehow Cedric Mullins is going to come in here and just like revamp the offense, or Stephen Kwan's presence on this team is going to push us over the top. We don't have to do that just to make a trade. And I get it. I scream for championships just like the next guy. I do. But with the Phillies, it's almost like that weird uncle that nobody wants to talk about in the family. You just kind of not talk about it because you want it to kind of go away type thing, about the championships. And I'm leery, man, because I don't want to give up on Chase Utley 2025 or Cole Hamels 2025 for Cedric Mullins, or for Stephen Kwan, or for Buxton, who doesn't want to be traded, or Suarez, another power bat. I don't want to do that. I don't want to mortgage potentially the next greatest Phillies era for a player that, maybe could come in here and definitely help, But is this the guy that's going to push us over the edge? And okay, so it's a combination of guys. Maybe it's just not one. Maybe I'm being too narrow-sighted here. Maybe it's more than one. Maybe there's a combo of trades coming down the pike that could bring in 4 to 5. Now, I'm going out way on a limb here. There's no way they're bringing in 4 or 5 players, but that's the number. That's the magic number for me. 4 or 5 useful players would definitely push this team in a direction that potentially could lead to a World Series. But there's no way Dombrowski's pulling that off. No team's going to play with him. No team's going to make that deal with him. And if they do, it's going to cost way too much. So are we excited about making trades because we think there's a player out there that could be that guy? Where I think there's more than one guy away, or are we just wanting to make a trade to make a trade? Good question. I don't think anyone's asked that. I would have taken him back for Raconis or like Arun Escobar. Taken who back? I would have taken who back? Pat Burrell stuck it out with the Phillies. He took the booze before Rollins, Utley, and Howard even got on the team. That's right. It's a good point. But so did Roland. He did. Roland took it too. Again, I'm not defending him. I'm just saying I can understand. Roland, Libby, Wolf, Padilla, Abreu, symbolic of not close enough Ed Wade era. Is that symbolic of the not close enough Ed Wade era, Steve? Or is it symbolic of the transitional era that was coming? Again, being a GM is multiple levels. You're not looking necessarily just at the product on the field. You're looking at the entire organization. So you got to give Ed Wade something here. He had the foresight not to get rid of it, and I'm sure he fielded multiple calls on the young second baseman from UCLA. I'm sure he fielded multiple calls on the flamethrower, tall, lanky left-hand pitcher wearing number 35. I'm sure multiple teams were interested in those people, and he didn't budge on them. Right? And there was no indication that Chase Utley was going to be what he was or Cole Hamels was going to be, other than what projections were and what they saw from a player development side. And by putting Roland, Libby, Wolf, Padilla, Abreu on the field was actually at that time a sight better than what we had come from. So again, we get narrow-minded or narrow-sighted when we don't see all this. That's why everyone needs to tune in to the Down on the Phillies Farm Report every Sunday. So maybe I can provide you the insight of the future and provide you that additional page to your book. I get it, Nooms. I was frustrated as hell with Ed Wade too back then. I wanted that trade. I was like, we are there now. But I also remember saying to myself at that time, we're not a World Series contender, but I'm so goddamn starved. I just want to make the playoffs. So I was willing to mortgage the future on just getting into the wild card. I mean, I wasn't even talking World Series because we weren't nowhere near a World Series contender back then. And even though people maybe thought we might have been better than we were, but I remember thinking we got to make that trade just to break at the time, I guess, a 9-year, drought of not making the playoffs. But the general manager, who took it on the chin and was thanked rightfully by Pat Gillick, and I'll never forget this, at the 08, right after the 08 World Series, right after the final out in Game 5, Part 2, the general manager of this team gave the props to Ed Wade when they interviewed him. He's like, I want to thank Ed Wade for not trading away those prospects. I never forget that. And I think the city of Philadelphia needs to remember that too. But I feel you, Steve. I was on the same boat as you were back then. 100%. Gregory Soto lost the game for the Mets last night. I forgot how awful he is. Terrible. It's a bad trade. If the Phils want to put someone in their Hall of Fame, it should be Mike Arbuckle. Too bad he never had the people skills to go with it. No, but he was part of a different type of generation. But I'm not down on Ed Wade going in. Again, you got to give the guy the credit. He was the architect of the 07 through 11 seasons. He was. He sat on those prospects. He sat on them. He wouldn't budge off of them. You got to give Ed Wade the credit. This is not the Ed Wade testimonial show. I'm not like a huge, and I know I think Kaepernick or Hale was on here the other night talking about how Ed Wade also built the Astros into their return to dominance. I don't agree with that statement. He might have set the motion. He got rid of some of the bad contracts they had back in the like that 2008 through 11 timeframe. You know, he got rid of some of those high-priced players that were left over from the 05 World Series champion or 05 National League Championship team. Yeah, I mean, Ed Wade did kind of jettison that, and maybe he acquired some assets in return, but you know, he was gone early on in the process. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to give him foundational credit for the Astros return to dominance. I'm not going to do that, but he was part of it. But I am going to give him the props for what he did for the Phillies. Again, this is not about Ed Wade. It's about the damn trade deadline. No, he did not retire. Oh, good. Thank you. I didn't know. I was sort of back and forth. Listen, I'm not. If you got the ear of Ryan Howard and he told you personally he was coming, I'm just going off of what the Phillies released today, a list of the 54 players that were going to be there. And I didn't see the entire 08 roster. And I get it. It's not all 25 of them. It'll be just probably the you know, the guys. I get that. But I didn't remember seeing their names. Pat Burrell is the hitting coach for the Giants. He's probably working that. Yeah, exactly. I don't remember seeing Pat Burrell. I didn't remember seeing Jason Worth. And I don't remember even seeing Shane Victorino's name on that list. So, but I do know Jimmy Rollins will obviously be there. And Chase Utley will be there. I did see that. From 08, Jamie Moyer will be there. I saw his name. But that's it. I don't remember seeing anybody else's name. And you say that Ryan Howard will be there. So I get the point. I was with my stepson at the vet in 98 waiting for his autograph after the Phillies Pirates. When Scott Rowland was coming out of his car, he had to stop. He rolls his window down, yelled at the fans. There, what don't you understand? I don't sign autograph. Okay, again, Mike, I get it, man. I understand. I do. I'm not saying, and trust me, listen, I don't think the Phillies should have honored him last year. I don't think he should have been enrolled in any sort of wall of fame here. I agree with you. I agree with the Scott Rowland cancer part. I do, but all I'm trying to say is I can maybe understand how frustrating it was back then for him. Hell, can anybody but a Phillies fan understand how frustrating it is to be associated with the organization? Well, I mean, we should all kind of, our hearts should have bled for Scott Rowland, man. I mean, of course, we should be the number one people to understand where he was coming from. But again, I'm not no way, shape, or form standing up for Scott Rowland. No, I don't think he should have been a Hall of Famer, and I sure as hell don't think he should have been honored here. Quan I disagree. 100% disagree. No Suarez, no Brent Rooker. Oh my God, these are just the dumbest suggestions. Yeah, I heard somebody, I don't know where I saw that too, Brent Rooker. Again, I mean, am I going to sit here and tell you that I would not want Brent Rooker on my team? By the way, I just came up with not a Brent Rooker point, but you mentioned his name, so I just rolled on to a Mason Miller rookie card today, so thought I'd put that out there. But yeah, I mean, have we not seen enough of this type of lineup? And we want to add to it. We don't want to listen, Steve. And I think you kind of fall in the same line with me. Is that I'm not looking for a power bat. And again, it kind of violates the whole. My first point of the first segment of the show was: are we out here trying to make a trade just to make a trade, or are there players out there that the Phillies could use to significantly change their mediocrity? Change something about the DNA of this lineup and try to drive themselves to a World Series. And a Brent Rooker or a Suarez is not changing the DNA of this lineup. It's not. It's the same player that we have a ton of them already here. I don't need another power bat. I don't need another home run or bust guy. I just don't get some Phillies fans, either their fascination with the home run hitting or their ignorance to the fact that this team is crippling itself with just being one level when it comes to the offense. And Suarez and Rooker would just provide the same amount of frustration that we see on a daily basis with dealing with Harper, JT, Schwarber, who did homer tonight, but would just add to that frustration. So when you mentioned Stephen Kwan being a DNA changer, I can kind of guess what you're trying to say about that. Yeah, he would change things up as in terms of what to expect at his position in the lineup. Now, Cedric Mullins, Luis Robert, those are players along that Stephen Kwan line. I'm not comparing them, but I like the fact that at least some of the rumors are being attached to players that would come here and change things. Now, I'm not specifically interested in the specific players because I don't think they would change much of anything, but their type of style would. So the Suarez, Brent Rooker stuff, I don't understand why any educated baseball fan, or maybe I'm giving them too much credit. Any educated Phillies fan, I'm not even going to talk about their baseball IQ, but their Phillies IQ would even suggest that, because we have Brent Rooker. He's already here. We have Suarez. He's already here. We don't need any more of them. But I agree with you 100%. And we haven't even kind of cut the surface on the pitching aspect. The bullpen help, which I maintain that I would be 100% fine going all in on offense. 100%. I'm okay with rolling the dice with the defense or with the pitching. I really am. Because I think the pitching does enough night to night to keep this team in games. It's the offense that bounces all over the place. It's the offense that is the fatal flaw for this team. When it's working, it's something that's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. When it's not working, which is more times than not, it's mind-numbingly frustrating to watch. So, and again, talking about in-season type moves, there's not much Ed Wade. Now you got me on Ed Wade. There's not much that Dave Dombrowski can do in season, and he may have to pick his poison about addressing one or the other. And we've seen him try to kind of bounce back and forth over the last few years by bringing a reliever, bringing in a bat. Maybe you go a different route this time. Let's put all of our eggs in one basket. Let's see how that works. Maybe we double up on offense. Bring in 2 or 3 bats. Maybe that would be what you do. But or 2 or 3 relief pitchers, whatever. But we haven't really addressed pitching. I'm open to talking about it. I'm open for suggestions, but the relievers that are available are way outside my price range. Bednar, the Pirates are going to bend you over the wall for that guy. I mean, say goodbye to about half the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs if we go for Bednar. There's no way we're getting Bednar for anything less than Crawford, Painter, Abel. There's no way we're getting him less than that. There's just no way. The Pirates are going to drive that price up. And of course, it's going to be a goddamn bidding war because there's other teams out there wanting the services of these players. So it all goes back to me with destroying the farm system, and I just don't want it to happen. And I've been feeling this all season long. When we got ready to fire this season up back in the winter, late January, right before the start of training camp and spring training and all that, I started getting that feeling that this season could be very telling in a lot of different ways for the Phillies. One, it could tell us that they're just not good enough to win a World Series. 2, it could tell us that Dave Dombrowski is going to try to bring the World Championships here come hell or high water, which means say goodbye to your farm system. I was scared about both those things coming true in 2025. Now, the one side might be coming true that they're not good enough. I sure as hope the other side doesn't come true, and he blows up the minor leagues for nothing. And I really don't. I thought Lieberthal was a better hitter than JT, just my opinion. Barbara, I share that opinion. Well, I'm not so much a better hitter. Well, a better Philly. Let's put it that way. On my all-time Phillies roster, or my all-time Phillies starting 9-position player roster, when I did I don't know if you remember, this was a few months back. This was way back, actually. It was probably back in, what was this, guys? Back in Christmas time when I went through my MattyB's all-time Phillies roster. It was first base, second base, third base, all the way around the diamond to include 5 starters and a closer. Mike Lieberthal was my all-time starting catcher. I had him as my guy. Lieberthal was a product of playing for some bad teams. And then as his career was coming to an end, the team started to transition. He just was way behind the power curve with that. But I thought Lieberthal was better than Dalton. I thought he was better than Boone. better than Diaz, better than Virgil, better than John Russell, better than all those guys. And if you want to put JT up there, I would definitely say that if I was going to rate them, it would be Lieberthal, Realmuto, Dalton. That would be my top 3 in that order of Phillies catchers of all time. That's how I would do it. And then Boone would be a 4th. But I agree. I think Lieberthal's career was hampered 100% by the fact that he played for some bad teams, for a lot of years here in Philadelphia. Oh, geez. Let me do that. Oh, man, I get all into talking, and we're almost 45 minutes into the show, and I haven't done it yet. So let me get it going. All right, I promised it, and here we go. That's why I need a producer, man. So the phone lines are open. If you guys want to chime in, you can. There's the link. You just have to have a way to talk to me, either through audio, well, preferably from audio. So have a way to talk to me. Yeah, easy on the Ed Wade building of the Astros. Yeah, again, somebody was, I don't know who, I forget, if somebody out there, one of you guys out there said it to me the other day. I forget who it was. I give him credit for clearing off some of them bad contracts, kind of clearing away the remnants of the 05 NL pennant. But other than that, I'm not really prepared to jump in and say that Ed Wade was the architect of returning the Astros to their glory days. Rex Hudler was coming as Roland just yelled, "I don't do autographs," and asked what he said, and someone told Rex, and some guys just don't get it. Yeah, I agree. Bregman, Altuve, all those guys drafted after Wade was fired. Yeah, I understand that, but again, I mentioned where I give Wade credit for the Astros resurgence. I give him getting rid of the Hunter Pences of the world, getting rid of those players, clearing some of that cap room away, acquiring some of those assets in principle, not the players specifically. But setting the Astros up to, and I would, Bregman, Altuve, they were like phase 2 of the Astros rebuild. There were some other players that came on before that kind of laid down the foundational work that maybe Ed Wade had more of a hand in versus Bregman and Altuve. I agree with you, Steve. 100%. Rooker couldn't play college outfield. Yeah, and we definitely don't need to make the outfield worse defensively either. I don't think he'd get worse. But then, yeah, Brandon Marsh flashing some leather tonight. Athletics All-Star Jack Wilson broke his leg. They have some excellent young players. They have really good young players. The A's are building for something 5-10 years from now. And as time permits tonight, the conversation, of course, what happened in the Phillies clubhouse the other night with Harper telling Manfred to get the F out of here. Is a prelude to what's happening. What's going to happen at the end of next season when the CBA expires is a salary cap looming in baseball. Maybe that's a conversation we can get to another night because that's going to take hours to talk about. But, teams like the Athletics, teams like the Rockies, and Barbara, you've brought this up before. Why are these cities even granted franchises when they are just so adequately unprepared to win? And what's the reason why they don't win? And yes, some owners they don't care about winning. They just care about the revenue stream of owning a team. So they don't put any money into it. But that's all going to lend itself into the salary cap conversation that's looming down the road for baseball. But I'm not as pessimistic as others. I don't care if there's a cap. I don't care if there's a tax. I don't care what it is, just as long as we don't have a work stoppage. That's what I care about. I've endured way too many MLB work stoppages in my life to endure another one. What was it? 81 was my first. 94. I'm missing 2 others. The one that happened in 2022, there was a work stoppage. And there was one before that too. Anyway, I've endured too many. And I don't want to endure anymore. So I hope whatever it is, they can get it hammered out. And but yes, the A's are building themselves for the future. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that. Oh, but bring Joe Hale in. Joe, what's going on, man? Joe was here. Oh, there you are.
How are you guys?
Joe, you there?
Yes.
I'm doing good, Joe. How are you?
I just want to talk minor deals. I listened to 97.5, and of course, somebody mentioned Tyler O'Neill. He's on a 1-year deal, and he has an expiring contract. He can play right field. He can play left field and center field. You wouldn't have to give up anybody big. He had, 4 RBIs in the first game today.
Well, Joe, listen, I'm not. But does Tyler O'Neill look a lot like Austin Hayes now? I think Austin Hayes gets a bad rap because he's killing the ball this year too. But he was hurt when he got here, kidney infection. But here's the thing, Joe. Baltimore's a team that had World Series aspirations. Now they don't have them anymore because of the way the season broke. Nobody's giving up a player for nothing. They're going to want to drive the price up. So when you say they're not going to have to give up anything, that's a very subjective statement because you don't know what Baltimore's going to want. And they're not taking Bryson Stott or Tyler O'Neill. They're going to want something from the minor leagues. They're not going to want anything off the major league roster because they're going to build for the future, which they feel is theirs now anyway. But any of these trades that I've heard, every player that I've heard, with maybe the exception of Cedric Mullins,
I don't want
that trade at all. And Suarez, I don't want that trade either. Or Rooker, I don't want that trade either. We already have them two here. We don't need any more of those types of players because it's just they're gonna fall into the same bad habits as the rest of them. But any trade is going to cost. And I don't know if I'm willing to pay the price for any of these trades, Joe, because again, I don't think they're one player away. They're not a Tyler O'Neill away from overtaking everybody in the National League and winning a World Series. But I get it. If I could pick up Tyler O'Neill in the offseason on a 3-year contract, absolutely. But am I willing to give up even a tier 2 prospect, even a Keaton Anthony level type prospect? I'm not willing to do that. And I think Baltimore, as all the other teams, they have their eyes on everyone's minor league systems. They know the trends. They look at the same ratings. They have scouts everywhere. So again, I just don't feel I'm ready to make a trade just to make a trade, Joe.
So if not Tyler O'Neill, would you just take Ryan O'Hearn? He wouldn't cost. He would just cost cash.
Yeah, I would take Ryan O'Hearn. Absolutely. If there's a way to upgrade without downgrading, I would. But Joe, do you get what I'm trying to say? I know you come into and again, actually, I'm not going to make claims on that. I don't know where you come in on this, but I don't feel the Phillies are one player away. How do you feel? Are the Phillies able, in your opinion, this trade deadline, are they able to significantly upgrade this team to make a consistent run for a World Series championship without cutting off the nose of their face in the process?
Require more than one player to make a serious run.
So you think it's more than one? So you think it's like give me a 3, 4? How many players are you looking? What are you looking to upgrade? Where does this team need to upgrade in order to be serious World Series contenders?
Left field.
Where else? Anywhere else?
Left field. Marsh doesn't cut it.
So just left field. So you're okay with the situation in center?
I said center also.
Left and center. Okay, so you're looking for a revamped outfield, and that's definite. That's on my list too. My list is a little bit bigger though. Left, center, third, second. We need upgrades there as well.
But okay, here's my point of view, and I say right field. I say you try to get rid of Castellanos and rebuild with that, because, and breaking news, Bucks is not going to be a Philly. He just got injured, put on the DL.
Well, he also said during the trade deadline, or not trade deadline, the All-Star break, he's like, I got a no trade clause. I'm not going anywhere.
And
he said that. I don't remember if you I don't know if you've heard that, but I heard it. He said, I'm not getting I know where all these rumors are coming from. I'm not going anywhere. I got a no trade clause.
And I don't think they're getting Suarez. I don't want Suarez. He can't play the field. He sucks. He's like a Stott making. Well, no. All right. He's more like Trey Turner making errors.
It's probably like having Kyle Schwarber play the infield, right?
Well, wait. Schwarber did play the infield, first base.
Well, he's also a catcher too.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he came up as a catcher. So did Harper. Harper came up as a catcher as well, but he switched early on in his career. He never made it to the pro level as a catcher. Schwarber was a catcher at the pro level early on in his career.
So if I wouldn't do anything dramatic, I would just try to get rid of Castellanos.
So you think getting rid of Castellanos
and they're not going to do good. I say wait until next year in the off season. Schwarber, I would try to bring back. I would go out and get a second baseman and a third baseman.
So trading Castellanos in season to you would not be a sign that they're not all in. I would take that as they're not all in, because I would much prefer to trade Castellanos in the offseason when you probably can get more for them.
Save a team like, would you take, who's the one from, what is it? Not Abel, the other one from the Angels. Would you take him straight up?
The other one from the Angels. What do you mean? Well, who you talking about?
He's the one that killed it when he was here.
Killed what?
And it's not Trout. I don't want Trout.
Well, I'm having a hard time. Who are you talking about? What position does he play?
Adele. I think that's his name.
Okay, yeah, I know that is, yeah. Well, but O'Neal Cruz, are you on board for bringing him in?
No.
I would take him.
He's going to cost too much.
Oh, absolutely. They're going to rake you over the coals, man. They're going to absolutely rake you over the coal. I agree. And that's where it comes into this. And John Middleton made the statement last week, I am not interested in mortgaging the future. I don't want to go back to 2013 and 2017. And I applaud John Middleton for that. And it also is an indictment. I take it as an indictment on Dave Dombrowski for not doing with the money that was given to him, by not doing the right thing.
He asked Dombrowski if he's going to go out and go crazy, and his honest answer was, "No, I don't want to trade stupid pieces that we have to." And from what I'm hearing, you might be seeing Crawford sooner than you think.
I've heard those rumblings and grumblings, and of course, God forbid Crawford hits the ball on the ground a lot, but I'll take that. At least he tries to put the ball, but he puts the ball in play, and we can do what we want from there. So, but all right, Joe. Listen, man, always a pleasure. Thank you, and yes, please keep me on task with this. I know I get caught up when I start talking, so make sure you remind me throughout the show, even though you're not responsible for that. But I do. I definitely appreciate it, man. Thanks.
Oh, we got you. I wish the other shows that you run would do this, like the soccer show would be cool.
Listen, those guys run independently. They can do whatever they want. I'm not going to mandate that, but I'll remind them. I'll definitely put that out that the fans want to interact with them directly. I agree.
For prayers for his laptop. I had up on him. I met him like tons of times.
I think he's going to go buy a whole new setup. He was telling me so. But Pat, God love Pat. Pat's going to be good. But thanks, Joe. Thanks for checking in, man. Yep. Joe Hale, man, throwing some love towards Pat Bernard. I love it, man. I love it. Tommy McCullum's the only legit bullpen protection prospect in the system, right? Tommy McCullum, really? Is like the only legit bullpen prospect in this system. You don't think Gage Wood is a bullpen prospect? That should be protected. Hell, would you trade Gage Wood, the first round draft pick? I trade him. We can't miss something we never had, but I disagree. Oh, in the top two levels. Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that, Steve, because it's the progression of a pitcher. Very rarely does a pitcher come out into the draft and aspire to be a reliever, right? It's typically a conversion that's done at some level when they either don't think you have what it takes to be a starter, or that you'd be more effective in that role as a reliever, and whatever. But it's always a hit or miss thing. If you look around MLB, and I've never done this, maybe you're going to force me to do it, but if you look around MLB and all the levels of the minor leagues, I mean, what exactly qualifies you to be a reliever? And how does that work? I love to talk to somebody that's in the know. Like, how do they ascertain, hey, I know you were throwing 98 miles an hour in college or in high school, you were a starter, but we don't think after 1 or 2 or 3 years that you don't have what it takes to be a starter. We're going to convert you to a reliever. I would love to know the process there. And are there any pitchers that come in and say, yeah, I'm a reliever and I want to be a reliever? Because I guarantee you that's a very slippery slope to navigate as it is to turn a pitcher into a relief pitcher. Because no pitcher, and I know growing up, I mean, I wasn't a pitcher, but all the friends that I had growing up, nobody ever aspired to be a reliever, unless it was a closer. But no one ever aspired to be. Everyone wants to be a starter or a closer. But that's an interesting situation about how you build your bullpen at the minor league level. And I don't think you really do. You just sort of kind of, like, for example, Ryan Kirkering. Now, a Ryan Kirkering would be terrible as a starter because he throws so fast. He's got the velocity. And obviously what he brings to the table is better in short spurts. But at what point does that get identified? Because I guarantee you Kirkering growing up wasn't aspiring to be a reliever either. But I would love to know how that works, man. I would love to know how that works. I think I can get Bednar for Abel, Cabrera, Escobar, Miller. You would... Are you serious? So you would trade David, you would trade for Bednar, and you would give up Mick Abel, Gene Cabrera, Arun Escobar, and Aiden Miller. Steve, are you friggin' kidding me? Are you listen, everybody, I want you guys to somebody screenshot this thing for me. This is not a Steve Nooms trade offer here. This is somebody, have you been hacked? Has somebody tapped into your YouTube account? I would 100% not make that trade. No. Are you being facetious, Steve? Are you pulling my lariat? Man, what is this? No. That is a terrible trade. Terrible. My favorite catcher for the Phillies was Ozzie Virgil. Yeah, so it wasn't my favorites, but he was good. So what? How did it go, Dave? So let's use my lifetime, not yours, mine as a gauge. Bob Boone was my first catcher, right? Then it was Bo. Then it was Ozzie. All right, now it's going to get weird. John Russell showed up for a little bit after Ozzie. It was John Russell. There was somebody in between Russell and no, it was Russell then Dalton. Dalton, then Lieberthal. Lieberthal, and I would a bunch of faceless names, and then Ruiz. And then do you go right from Ruiz to Real Muto, or do you add in the Cameron Rupps of the world, the Jorge Alfaros of the world? Do you add them in there as well to the bridge to Realmuto? But let's take them out and go right from Ruiz to Realmuto. So there you go. There's my catchers in my lifetime. So it was Boone, Diaz, Ozzie, Russell, and Fletcher. Russell and Fletcher were in the same like time frame, I think. Dalton, Lieberthal, Ruiz, Realmuto. That should not be something that I know. Where's my life headed, man? But I get it. I like Ozzie Virgil too. I did too. So, all right. Where the hell did I go here? Yeah. Bo Diaz had a great playoffs for the Phils. Just don't ask him to install a roof antenna. I don't watch first inning of Astros. I didn't watch the first inning of Astros versus White Sox. You didn't watch just the first inning? I didn't watch any of the game. I didn't watch the entire series. Totally not into that. Ed Wade signed Altuve, international signings, and drafted George Springer among the other Astros. My point about Ed Wade is sucky GM, but new talent. I agree. He had a knack for acquiring talent. He did. And as I said, there was a lot of other things that had to happen for the Astros to get to where they were. Ed Wade does have a hand in that, but not, I give him all the credit, as Pat Gillick did, in building what happened from 07 to 11. He gets a lot of that credit, and he deserves it. He gets like 20% of the credit for the Astros, or maybe 40. I'll give him 40. I'm going to give him 40% of building the Astros back. Okay, so Michael, I agree with you, and I agree with Nooms. If the MLB goes on strike again, the sport won't survive. I agree. Barbara, 100%. Harrison Bader is available too. There's a guy. That's right. He is available. So is Verdugo still out there? I know the Braves cut him. Is he still floating around out there? Brought in by successors. Next year, put Harper back in right field, Castian left, even for 1 year, then sign a power hitting first baseman. So if we're going to go into the way too early offseason, and what I would do, I haven't really sat down and looked at free agents to bring here. But as far as moving personnel that are currently on this team, you got to have to make a decision with one of your 3 free agents. You're going to have to bring back one of them. And unfortunately, I think the Phillies are in a position where they can't bring back all 3. They can probably bring back one out of the Remuto, Suarez, Schwarber group. And obviously, if you're kind of weighing the scales of justice, it might not be the practical answer, but Schwarber would be the answer to bring back. Now, you also now open yourself up to a problem with catching. So you're going to have to go find a catcher next year until Eduardo Tait, if he's not dealt, is ready to play. You got to go in and you got to find a way to move Castellanos in the offseason. He's a free agent entering the last year of his deal. He's not going to re-sign with the Phillies. They're not going to re-sign him. Castellanos will be gone at the end of 26. He's not coming back here. He's probably got a zero interest of being part of this team or this city after his contract expires. So find a way to get Castellanos out of Philadelphia this offseason, along with Bryson Stott and Alec Bohm. You got to get creative and get those 3 players out of here because you need to bring back some return, some Major League Baseball return. And maybe you can replenish a bullpen arm or 2 or a starting pitcher for the loss of Suarez if Painter doesn't work out and he doesn't kind of fit into that mold right off the bat next year. But you got to get those 3 players out of here. You got to be creative. There's no way that I think the Philly fan base will buy into a return of Alec Bohm, Bryson Stott, and Nick Castellanos in 26. I don't think there's no way you can sell it. There's no way. So you got to move off those 3. And yes, you have to address center field. You either got to give it to Crawford. You got to give it to Crawford. Get Marsh and Rojas. Marsh will probably not go because of the pride thing. With Dombrowski not admitting that he was wrong about trading O'Hoppe. So maybe Marsh is part of your bench in 26. Rojas can go back to the minors or go away. Either way, you got to find a left fielder. And I think they'd be okay. But there's multiple pieces of this team that need to be moved around in the offseason. I mentioned as talking to Joe Hale what my suggestion was. But bringing Harper back in right field, I'm not doing that. We can bring in, no, I'm not doing that. Trout's already here. His name is Bryce Harper. Yes, he is. They were Tal Smith's guys brought against Wade's wishes, who wanted Sal. Yeah, there was only one it was happening. Goddamn, Steve going deep into like the 30 for 30 of Ed Wade. Joe Hale, there's only one MattyB. Those other guys don't come. No, I think what he was saying was he wants the others to take calls, which I can't force. I'm not going to force those guys to do that. Tell them, you guys have a bigger voice than I do. When it comes, they don't listen to me. Tell the attacking third guys. Tell Al. Tell Steve. Tell Pat. Tell Mike. Who else works here? Tell the Pittsburgh Sports Desk when they come on. Listen, open up the link. Put the link in there where you want to chime in. But I can't help you though. I can't force them to do it, and I can't force them not to do it. So I run this country a lot like I run this country. It's rep sports country. I run this network a lot like I would want to run the country. To each his own. No one is allowed to interact with Pat's bargain basement Wi-Fi. Yeah, and that's a good point too. If somebody else jumped off of Pat Bernard's Wi-Fi signal, you might grind to a halt the civilized world as we know it. So stay away from that. As Pat's trying to figure out how to upgrade his Wi-Fi. So I think it's a system problem with his computer. I think he's got like a Brother P-Touch, like 1985 Apple computer. I think he's with the big spools of wire or tape that run between them. I think that's what his computer is hooked up. Nola starts tomorrow in the I Valley. So Aaron Nola finally got a rehab assignment. For those of you that out there, and again, I didn't really gauge the room on this one much, but there was a lot of talk about, and hey, Nola's coming. Well, he's one step closer to coming back. I guess we'll see Nola at some point, maybe mid-August, if all goes well. But he's going to get the rehab assignment tomorrow down in Lehigh Valley. Make sure you're checking it out. For a while, we had some decent pen arms coming from the minors like Stutz, I remember those guys came early, mostly in 07 and 10 drafts. Yeah. But again, at what level is it? At what level? AAA, AA, that they're like, listen, you're a reliever, and we're going to concentrate on you being a reliever from this point forward. I guess AA would be probably the level they would do that at. If the knock on Crawford is that hits the ball on the ground a lot, that's funny, man. I guess Tony Gwynn, Rod Carew, Pete Rose would still be in the minors just like Crawford. Absolutely. I don't want to I don't want to start comparing Justin Crawford to three Hall of Famers. I'm going to call Pete Rose what he is. Took a screenshot for you. Thank you. you get your closer. You keep Painter, Crawford, Wood, and Taillon. It's too much. It's too much. Too much. I know he's under some control too, but it's too much. Bo Diaz. Oh, I forgot Lance Parrish. Yes, where did he fit in? It was after Virgil, right? Because it was Parrish signed here in '86, so it would have been. How did I forget about Lance Parrish? Man, talk about a bust of a free agent move. The first bad Phillies free agent signing ever. Remember that move? God, he tore it apart when he was with the Tigers. He came here and was anything similar to what he was in Detroit. And he got hurt a lot. What in the hell? It was, so that would have been Boone, Diaz, Virgil, Parrish, Russell, Fletcher, Dalton, Lieberthal, Ruiz, Real Muto. All right. Damn, Peppernick. Good catch, man. How did I forget Lance Parrish? Jesus Christ. Don't forget that the great Jim Vatcher, who I think helped us get the his first of right. Benito Santiago got a very good single year, 30 home runs for the Phillies. He did. That was in between Ozzie Virgil and Bo Diaz. That was like in the 84, 80, between 83, 85 time frame somewhere, or maybe was it 87? Maybe it was 87. So Santiago had all success in San Diego, right? Because didn't he mirror the Tony Pena open leg stance when he was behind the plate? He slid out his left leg like Tony Pena did. I think Benito was that type of catcher, right? He could also throw people out from the ground, just like Tony Pena could. He was a hell of a defensive catcher. No one could steal against him. Yeah, but he only had that one good year, right? And then that was pretty much it for him. Man, nice call. Move Stott and Cassie. We can do absolutely. And we got to move Bohm too. Phillies will keep Real Muto as he wants to stay, and I think it'll be a team-friendly deal. I wouldn't be totally against it if it is a team-friendly deal because we have such a hole at catcher. Logan O'Hoppe, where have you gone? And we're not going to have a catcher if Taillon survives this year, if he survives this trade deadline. And again, we're not even talking about that aspect of it all. There's a whole bunch of Phillies players, prospect players, that are in various parts of the country right now, wondering if this is the end of their time. So I'm sure it's a stressful time for those guys too. But if Taillon does not get moved, and he is part of the future of the catching position on this team. And I know they went out and they drafted a couple. They drafted one catcher late in the 18th round. By the way, if those of you keeping track at home, the Phillies signed 19 of 20 of their draft picks. So only one draft pick did not sign with the Phillies. So that means only one player cannot participate with the Phillies in 2025 and has until 1 hour between now and the next draft to sign with the Phillies or he'll get redrafted. I forget the kid's name. I think it's the kid out of Jersey, out of high school in New Jersey. He did not sign, but everybody else did under the deadline. So 19 of 20 draft picks signed, sealed, and delivered for the Phillies this year. But yeah, I think they might do that. I do like Al. I don't. 2 quality ballpen arms or 3 ballpen arms altogether. Also 1 power bat and an average bat. That's what I'm going for, not giving up Painter Crow. I don't know how you're going to make that all happen there, Ryan. I really don't. Ignore the word with. I don't know how you're going to make it happen. Parrish was 86. He was off. It was terrible. And then they moved him to California. They traded him to the Angels for Pat Coombs, right? Was that the name of the pitcher they brought? He was supposed to be is it Pat Coombs I'm thinking about? He was a prospect pitcher that was supposed to be the next great thing, but he never worked out. I know he got traded to the Angels, and I think it was for Coombs. Yes, and it helped us get. Didn't Glenn Wilson help us get John Kruk because of that one good year? Made the All-Star team that year. Stephen Kwan can be the next average bat. Yeah. Don't forget Pratt. Now, see, so Todd Pratt, Benito, Alfaro, these are guys that, yes, they were catchers here. I'm not going to go through. I'm talking about like the waypoint catchers of my life. I'm not going to recite every catcher that ever strapped on the shins for the Phillies. I mean, there's 30 or 40 of them, right? But I'm talking about those waypoint guys. Like when I first became a Phillies fan, it was Bob Boone. My first iconic image of, the Phillies I have is Boone and Rose in the World Series with the juggle thing in Game 5, right? Or Game 6. Then after that, I remember Bo Diaz, specifically number 6, right? Then I remember specifically after that, I could have sworn it was, wasn't it Ozzie? Ozzie Virgil was after that, and that was in 83, correct? Wasn't Ozzie in 83 in the loss to the Orioles in the World Series? Like, these are the catchers that I remember as we kind of moved through. Now, there's gaps, of course, because there's gaps of bad baseball by the Phillies, but those are my waypoint catchers. I mean, flexing our Phillies catcher knowledge ability is, you guys are bringing up some names that put you up there on the list of, yeah, you know what you're talking about. I'll give you that. But Todd Pratt was, he's just there, right? Just like a lot of them were. 96 wasn't Santiago. That's way too late. That wasn't Benito. Benito was in the 80s. Didn't he come back? He came back. He was here twice, I think. I think he was here twice. I might be wrong, but I think he was here twice. Always thought Tony Pena would take a bad nut shot. We used to, as kids, always mirror that stance. We used to love that. Santiago got a 34-game hit streak his rookie year. The great Steve Lake. Again, you guys are pulling some names out, man. Steve Lake, number 25. I remember Steve Lake. Padres are helping the Phillies. Oh, so the Padres are beating the Mets tonight 4-1. Phillies traded for a gap-to-gap hitter. Is Robbie moving Schwarber back to the 4th and lap? Maybe for one night, 2 nights, who knows? Pat Coombs was our draft pick. Who was the guy they traded? They traded Parrish to the Angels for a pitcher. Why do I think of Pat Coombs when I think of that? It was a highly touted pitcher in their system. You sure it wasn't Pat Coombs? You guys know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. I just can't remember his name. The best Steve Lake moment is just rounding third during Dernier's inside the park home. I remember that. That was against the Giants. That was against the Giants at the Vet. I remember that. 7-1 Padres beating the Mets. Santiago was 100%. Was he really? Could have sworn he was here in the 80s. Pratt was here twice. Again, see, you guys are flexing you're flexing your Phillies catcher, your obscure Philly catcher muscle on me tonight. That's good stuff. But Benito was so Boone Diaz. It was Boone Diaz Virgil, right? Maybe I'm confusing Ozzie Virgil and Benito. Benito had curly hair. Ozzie Virgil had a beard. I do remember that. Bruce Ruffin era. Don't bag on Bruce Ruffin. Man, he was good. Big right-hander from Texas. Oh, I like Bruce Ruffin. Another career that did not work out. Oh, he was not. He was not. He was traded for somebody else. Or maybe that was, am I thinking about Mitch Williams? Was he traded for a highly touted pitcher from the Angels? I mean, he was traded to the Astros. Man, I'm all confused, man. I could have sworn they traded Parrish for one of the Angels pitchers. What am I thinking of, man? What am I thinking of? It'll come to me. I'll bring it up sometime tomorrow. But there was a pitcher that was in the Angel system that we got. Who the hell am I thinking of? I could see his face. It was during the era of the wings, with the stupid wings and the pinstripes of the Angels when they had those. No, I'm not thinking about Jose De Jesus. No, I'm thinking I know who I'm. Or maybe we traded Pat Coombs to the Angels. Did we trade Pat Coombs to the Angels? The Angels and Pat Coombs are sort of like ramming together in my brain. Listen, look, we're falling way behind task, and I'm almost up to the hour and a half, which I don't normally only do an hour for this show. Let's pivot to the Eagles real quick. And it's not going to take me long to talk about this because the training camp hype is here. Training camp has begun. It's 105 degrees outside, and they're playing football, which is great. It's a great sign. But I just don't ever buy into the training camp hype. I don't know what you're going to figure out from a fan's perspective watching 7-on-7 in pads and shorts. I know there's obviously football stuff going on that the team is looking at, and there's some intriguing position battles for this team. The secondary, who's playing where, is probably the most intriguing position battle. And then also who's going to fill in for Nakobe Dean as the other linebacker, or probably the two most intriguing position battles that where everyone's probably going to keep an eye on throughout this phase of training camp and into the preseason. So, but to sit here and get extremely excited about, the 19th round pick from St. Mary's School for Wayward Girls, flexing his muscle in training camp, I just never bought into that. I just can't seem to get really jazzed up about that. So, it's great to see that they're back. And then the Hall of Fame game is Thursdays. LA Chargers against the Lions. Is that when the Eagles officially become the defending Super Bowl champions, when that game starts, or do we wait till week 1 when they actually kick off the season in Philadelphia with the Cowboys? But I understand the hype. Football's a long off season, and it fades from memory, and it's gone. It's here, but it's not here long enough, and it's gone way too long. And I get all that, but I do understand that. Now, in the world of streaming, I want to bring this up to you guys. How do you guys feel about this? Now, I know you couldn't stream it, all of it, because there's practice going on. They don't want you to see certain things. But do you think it would be beneficial, and would you be interested in like a YouTube stream of Eagles practice during training camp? And not all of it, because they would never show you all of it, but the stuff that they deem open for the public anyway, instead of making people, go out in the 100-degree heat, just live stream it. Would that be something that people would be interested in watching? I think it would. And I also think it would open up a whole different side of football to maybe some fans that are either wanting to get into it or already diehard as it is. I think it would be a huge money thing for the NFL and for the Eagles and all the other teams. And again, they have practices, time slots throughout training camp that are open to the public. So why don't you just live stream those so that everybody can see it? I think it's something that the NFL should definitely look into. And I wonder if it's something that you guys would be interested in watching. And I don't know if anybody would want to do it, but I would watch it just to see. But I think it's an interesting question as we move everything these days into streaming. Would you be interested in watching live streaming Eagles training camp? Thank you very much, Barbara. The Eagles' first round pick is going to fill in for Dean, I think. Well, is that where they should put him, or is he better fit as an edge? Jihad Campbell. I know he's that hybrid linebacker, and I know a lot of good news that he starts training camp off fully healthy. There were some questions about that. And what about Nakobe Dean? Is his career over? Is Nakobe Dean going to go down in Eagles history as a player that coulda, woulda, shoulda? Is he that type of guy? And then injuries, and you know what? Part of drafting a player, evaluating their talent, is evaluating their injury history as well. And I'll give you, when Nakobe Dean was on the field, he was a difference maker. But the problem is he can't stay on the field. And is Nakobe Dean's season over? I'm hearing reports that he won't be medically cleared till November to play contact football. I mean, you can take that as two different ways. You get a fresh Nakobe Dean at the end of the season, but how are you looking at Nakobe Dean? Dude, am I thinking of Mike Krukow? No, man. Krukow came from the goddamn where we get Krukow from? I was watching a game today from 1980. Phillies Padres in 80. Bo Diaz was catching. So it had to be 81, 82. And Krukow was pitching for the Phillies, and they were talking about the Phillies got Krukow from the Cubs. Right. They got Krukow from the Cubs and they traded him to the Giants. No, I'm not thinking of Pat Krukow. No, not Shane Raleigh. Oh, man. No, I'm thinking about somebody. I could have sworn it was Pat Coombs. I'll figure it out. I'll work it out when I go after I get off with you guys tonight. So, Eagles training camp, live streaming, yay or nay. I think it'd be a cash cow. Now, who wants to sit out there in this heat, man? It was hot today. It was hot over the last few weeks. But yeah. Is Nakobe the Ron Jones of these? I think he is. And it's a shame because, as I said, when he's on the field, he's a difference maker, but he's just never on the field. And I think that he buys himself, I think with this injury, you're going to see him in 26, right? He still has a year left on his contract next year. I don't know if the Eagles are going to re-sign him, but I don't know if it's even a conversation that we're going to have, but it's an interesting situation with Nakobe Dean. Lance Parrish was traded for the Angels for day. Okay, I'm not. I believe you. I'm not disagreeing with that. I am thinking about somebody else. There's another. There might be two trades sort of colliding in my brain right now, and I'm trying to. I'll sort through them and I'll find out what I'm trying to get at. But I appreciate you guys fact checking me. I do. I really appreciate it. All right, let's go to the other night segment. All right, so the other night segment is back. We did it the other night. We talked about our final Phillies prospect of the season, and I had nothing left in the cupboard, man. It was empty. The other night cupboard was bare. We had gone through the MLB draft, we had gone through the NHL draft, we had gone through the Flyer prospect pool, and we had gone through the Phillies prospect pool. And I was hesitant on breaking out the Flyers spotlight player cards because I didn't think it was time. But you know what? With its Mercury touching 100 today, who else was thinking hockey, right? I mean, come on. Today had hockey weather written all over it. So tonight, we are going to start spotlighting the Philadelphia Flyers player by player as we gear up for the 25-26 season. In about 2.5 months is when the puck will drop in South Florida. Flyers-Panthers will open up the season. Whew. Welcome to Philly, Rick Tockett. You're going to start your season off against the two-time defending Stanley Cup champs. But tonight we're going to start breaking down some of these players that will be definite members of this team next year. And then there's still some players that are going to be filled out. This roster is not complete yet. There's probably going to be some interesting camp battles that are going to be that you probably are definitely must-see TV. Alex Bump, Jet Lachenko, is he going to make the team? Bonk, Barkey, players like that. There's going to be some position battles and there's going to be some roster spots out there to be won by some of these younger players. So we'll fill in as appropriately. But tonight we're going to kick it off with the man himself. Oh, not the man himself, but the captain, Sean Couturier. Yes, folks, Sean Couturier still plays for this team. Numbers wise, if you look across the board here, a couple of things stand out about Sean Couturier's 24-25 season. First thing for me is 79 games played. Now, I don't think Sean Couturier in any shape, way, or form was a John Tortorella fan, and I don't think he really appreciated John Tortorella at all. And I'm sure they probably didn't get along with each other. But a true professional is what Sean Couturier is, and he did it for the betterment of the team. He took the C role on, regardless of how he got named the captain, and I honestly don't think that was a Tortorella move. I think that was a Danny B move. I think Danny B was tired of the Flyers not having a captain and kind of forced it on the head coach, which might have been the start of the end of their relationship together with Danny B and Tortorella. But either way, Couturier was the most likely candidate to put the C on. And I think as a captain, and we know in hockey, in the hockey world, even us fans of the hockey world, and I'm more than a fan of the hockey world, I'm pretty in tune with what's happening inside those locker rooms. There's more than being the scorer of a team or the face of the offense of a team that goes along with being a captain. Yes, that's a big part of it, and it's typically your number one offensive threat. But there's other character attributes that go on to being a captain. And Sean Couturier, for the most part, exemplifies those. Now, would I want to see more offensive production? Of course. That contract that he signed a few years back is like an anchor around this team right now. But for 79 games on his second full season back from back surgery, 15 goals, 30 assists, 45 points, and a very healthy +1. I'll take those numbers from him. His offense started to come along a little bit later on in the year. Now, Couturier's, just like everybody else, being juggled around that lineup every night, not knowing what line he was going to be on, bouncing all around the place, didn't help for any continuity's sake. But I thought for where Couturier is in his career, not where he is on his contract, that's a whole other conversation, but where Sean Couturier is on his career, I think these numbers, I was pretty satisfied with those. And maybe this year, wherever he may end up, some talk about him going up to that first line and being the anchor with Michkov and TK. Some talk about him going down to that second line and maybe being Cates and Tippett's center, or potentially a third line with Cates and Forrester. Wherever he falls in the Flyers center depth chart, keep him there. Keep him there. Keep him with the line mates. And I think that's going to be a big thing that I'm looking at for the Flyers this season, is some continuity with these lines. Yes, lines change. Yes, in-game adjustments are made. But the Flyers, and I'm not blaming Tortorella for this because we just didn't have the talent, and it was all about evaluating talent, really struggled with keeping continuity within their lines. But I understand why. But I think Sean Couturier needs that continuity. And if I can get 79 games out of him next year, and if I can get, say, 20 goals out of him, if I can get 50 assists and maybe a +5, that's progression as he battles his way back from that back injury. So is it worth the money we spent on him? Absolutely not. Would be better off if maybe we pushed him on out of town? Absolutely. But who's taking him? While he's here, he's the captain. I think he's a good captain. I think he's a good choice to be a captain. And I like the trend of these numbers. These numbers are pedestrian in terms of the offensive production, but it's actually pedestrian positive. So Sean Couturier looking to hopefully build on somewhat of a bounce back 24-25. And there you go. There's our first player spotlight for the Flyers this season. And put it on your calendar, July 27th. No, 29th. July 29th, or now July 30th, as we've moved into midnight. So there you have it. There you have it. Jordan Davis does look a lot skinnier. I think Davis or Dean will be back because of their friendship with Jalen Carter. If Dean can be on the field, he's obviously welcome back. But the problem is going to be, is Nakobe Dean going to bounce back from that injury? That's a pretty bad injury that he got. Eagles and Flyers schedules are brutal. They are. Some nuances, and we never really got a chance to talk about this, Steve, on the show yet. I haven't really got into the Flyers schedule, but the Black Friday game is on the road this year because the Eagles are home. So traditionally, the Flyers play at home on Black Friday against the Rangers. This year, they're on the road against the Islanders because the Eagles are home against. Are they playing the Lions? No, who are they playing on Black Friday? Oh, whoever this is the Bears. Whatever that game is, the Black Friday game has forced the Flyers to hit the road on their traditional home day game. So I don't like that. I don't like that one bit. Numbers wise, he was good. He needs more goals this coming year. I agree. But as I said, I think it's 15 goals. I'll take 5 more. 5. If he's a 20 goal scorer, I'm okay with that for where he's at in his career. And I kind of liked the direction that Couturier went towards the season as it kind of wore on. They need to get him more continuity. They got to put him on a line and keep him there. And that's going to be a big selling point for the Flyers this year. And I think that's something that Taka's going to work on. Is now, okay, we've assessed these players, we know who they are. Let's get some line chemistry going, and let's put these guys on proper lines. Now, do we have the proper players, especially in the middle? I don't think so, but we do have the wingers. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I can't even compare any of these young players to any of our players back in the day. I want a 50.2 season next year in the playoffs. No more excuses for Danny B. I want a 50.2 season next year. I want the playoffs. I agree. We need the playoffs. Can't go 6 years without no playoffs there, Steve. All right, let's wrap it up with my favorite segment of the night. Yep. Is the MattyB card review segment, my ultimate favorite segment of the night. This is where I take me and my wife are talking about it tonight. We think somewhere upwards to about 20,000 cards is what my current collection sits right now, which is actually low numbers comparably to some big time collectors out there. But because it's been about a year since I decided to get rid of the massive amounts of totes and shoeboxes and various places that these cards were all being housed in, and actually get some system involved, organize them, sort them, put the cards that have value in one place and the other cards in another place for prosperity. I think we've done well, personally. And then I just finished a few weeks back, about a month ago, putting all the cards that have value on a Excel spreadsheet, a database of over 4,000 cards. I know I'm not right in the head. I've known that for years. I know there's sort of these idiosyncrasies, but going through these cards one by one for like 2.5 months that I did this and putting them on an Excel spreadsheet brought me peace and tranquility throughout the day. It's the soldier in me. It's the attention to detail. It's, I guess, the OCD. I don't know, but we do this segment every night and we enjoy it. And I enjoy it personally. So tonight we're going to continue on baseball. We dwell in all 4 majors, but tonight it's primarily baseball, but we're also staying in the modern era. And we're back to one of those, if you come across any of this person's card, you need to put it away and you need to protect it under glass, under plastic, somewhere. It's Aaron Judge. Anything Aaron Judge from his rookie year of 16, which would have been 17 card, up until now, you put it away. And tonight we're going to take a look at a card that is misunderstood about Aaron Judge. And I'm going to explain it here and what I mean by that. But anything Aaron Judge is worth, and I have over 67 Aaron Judge cards in my collection from various years, in various parallels, in various base, refractor, reflector, chrome, rookie, team set, whatever. I got a bunch of Aaron Judge cards, and that's primarily thanks to my stepson, because he's a huge Yankees fan. But we're going to talk about Aaron Judge and this card right here, his 2018 Topps Future Stars card. Now, this card and Topps in general, when it comes to their Future Stars, is very misleading because of how this card is depicted. And Topps owes me an answer why they do this, because it frustrates me. So a Future Stars card is just that. It's a card of a player who they feel that in the future will develop into a megastar. Now, this card was from the 2018 Topps set. Aaron Judge's rookie card was part of the 2017 Topps set. So This was his second year in the league, based off of 2 years worth of stats, which is future star card worthy. He definitely was a future star at that point. But the misnomer here is, if you can see down on the right-hand side of your screen, is the Topps Rookie Cup. That is a misleading feature of this card, and it's on all these Topps future stars cards. I don't know why they do this. This is not his rookie card. This is not from his rookie year. This is nothing rookie at all about Aaron Judge. It's his future stars card, and it's not indicative of the Judge. If you go through all of Topps's cards, or you'll see it all over the place, and I don't know why it's like that. Because on Topps you have the rookie shield and you have the rookie cup. Why are you putting a rookie cup card on a card from a player from his second year? So this is not a Aaron Judge rookie card. I do have Aaron Judge rookie cards, but this is not one of them. This is his Future Stars card. This is from the Team Set series of cards in 2018, and it's card number NY1. But again, it's Aaron Judge, and it's worth money. This card in base form, unserialized, is worth about $10. If you had a serialized version, like I have another version of this card that is from the actual Series 1 2018 Topps, not the Team Set series, but this actual Series 1, and it's serial, and it's got a serial number. It's a number of a certain number produced cards. That card is worth about $100. So anything with Aaron Judge's face on it or name on it, baseball card wise, is a must keep and put away. And here's his Future Stars card. Again, indicative of the Topps modern layout of baseball cards. Not really spending much time on borders at all. It's just a full picture of the player and a background shot, and then a very modest, team logo with the name on the bottom. And it's a fun card because it's Aaron Judge. And again, if you are getting into card collecting, there's certain names you got to gravitate towards in the modern era, and Aaron Judge is one of those names. And there you go. And I'll show it to you. Here it is in its physical form. Again, the misleading rookie cup on the bottom of it, and here's the back of the card from the card number NY1 from the Team Set series of 2018 Topps. And there you go, Aaron Judge. Always fun to talk about Aaron Judge cards. Always fun. Piper Nick says, good show. Thank you. Great show. Thank you. How much for a Judge rookie card? It depends on what variant you have. I'm selling actually a rookie card, his 2017 Topps Chrome rookie card from the Chrome set. I'm selling it for $200, and I've gotten a lot of looks on it, and I've gotten a few offers, but and this is ungraded, and the question of how much is it worth versus it all depends on the condition of the card, graded, if the card's graded or not. But I'm selling a base Chrome rookie card currently on eBay for $200. Now, if I send this card off to PSA or BGH and get them to grade it, it comes back at 9, 9, 5, 10. You're looking at a card that could be worth about $1,000. Card collecting is a huge business, but it's a business of supply and demand, and what people want. And what I've done with this card collection is not necessarily for me, because by the time the cards that I have, which don't go I think 1962 is like the oldest card I have. Most of them are from the 80s to today. It's going to be my stepson and his kids that are actually going to reap the benefits of what I've started here. So it's that kind of trade, but there's big money involved, and Judge is definitely one of those players. So a lot of money for Judge in a nutshell. All right, folks, hour and 40 minutes might be a show record. So I want to thank you for keeping me engaged. We probably could have went all night, but we're going to have to cut it off. Remember, tomorrow back here on the network at around 5 o'clock-ish time frame, it'll be the Fighting's Final with your boy, yours truly, MattyB. I will wrap you up with the White Sox series. Hopefully, we're talking series win. And then on Thursday night, you've got the Attacking Third And on Friday, you got the wraparound with probably Mike Lauro. And then on Sunday, you got the PNM and the AM. Again, I'm not sure who with who. I know it's going to be Mike and Pat, or Mike and Al. I'm not sure if Pat will be there, but make sure you're checking in and keeping tuned in. And please like, share, and subscribe, especially here on the YouTube platform, as we need your help. And listen, you guys have a great rest of your night, as we are now past midnight, and enjoy tomorrow. And we'll talk again soon. See ya.